Hey guys, this is Marc Goldberg from Marc Vlogs Watches, and I have an exciting episode for you today. If my source is to be believed, we have quite a bit of inside information on Rolex from deep within the bowels of Rolex, and in recognition and honor of that brand, I am wearing my Rolex hat. Okay guys, so look, we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes of this video. There's lots of information for me to read and comment on off of my computer. We're going to be here for a minute, but before we get into that, let's do the quick fist watch check. And no, it is not what you would think. Here it is. Guys, before I show you the quick fist watch check, 2 quick points. Number 1, please like and subscribe. It helps me so much if I'm not doing this all by myself. So like and subscribe and do a comment even. And finally, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of this video, so I'm going to tack it onto the end. I feel like the most juicy piece of information that my spy has provided, I will provide for you at the end of this video. Don't skip it, you gotta watch to the end. Today I am wearing a Marathon GSAR on a Marathon red rubber strap. It's a fun watch, it's a rugged, tough watch. I'll review it later in the month. Now, we have a spy deep within the bowels of Rolex. We shall call her Mata Hari. And so I'm going to read, I'll be looking down at my computer. Here are some facts directly from Rolex via Spy 3.0 Mata Hari. And she says as follows. I can confirm that your information on the Rolex building a new factory is true. However, they will not flood the market even once it's up and running. You will find in the description of this video links to the other spy versus spy videos. And we had a report that Rolex was in fact building a new factory for movement production, and that source claimed that Rolex would be doubling the number of movements they make and flooding the market within a year or so or two with Rolex Steel Sports. Spy 3.0 says, factory building, yes. Flooding the market, no. I'm agreeing with Mata Hari. I think she's got this right. They like and want to continue the brand's exclusivity. They like that the demand is so high. Not only do I believe that, but I think that they have created that by artificial shortages, continuing the marketing, which creates more demand. When supply is low and demand is high, prices rise and exclusivity, cachet, brand recognition skyrocket. And that is what is happening. As I've said before, I think that Rolex is going for Patek level exclusivity with only half the horology, but similar pricing. And isn't it true? Because on the secondary market now, boy, you could go get a Calatrava for less than what it would cost you to get a Rolex Daytona. So far, Mata Hari, I'm agreeing with you on everything. Point number two, she says, stock will increase slightly when the new factory is operational, but the public will not notice the difference because the waiting lists are so long now. So will they goose up supply a little bit? Well, actually, I have a report from the previous Spy 2.0, which said that Rolex stock would be increasing slightly this fall, autumn of 2019, in time for Christmas. And that seems to be happening now because I'm getting reports from all around the world of people who are just happen to find a Submariner or a Steel Sports. Flooding the ADs? No, that is not happening. Slight, tiny little easing, fulfillment of the waiting list, yeah, that seems to be happening. So point number 2, stock will increase slightly, but it'll barely be noticeable because the waiting lists are so high. Mata Hari, I'm with you on this one. Number 3, Rolex is not going to change anything about what the ADs are doing regarding withholding the guarantee cards. Now, let me quickly explain. In the United States, the warranty card is not withheld, but throughout the UK, they're holding that card for up to a year before they give it to the customer of the watch. This was not a scheme created or authorized by Rolex. In the UK, the Watches of Switzerland Group, formerly called Arum, concocted this rule. Rolex are obviously aware of this tactic and will not create any obstacles. So this is not a Rolex policy, it's a store chain policy. They're happy for the ADs to implement reasonable initiatives to cut down on gray market dealers profiting from the Steel Professional Sports range. Oh, and fun fact, Rolex do not like that range being referred to as sports. They want all the authorized dealers to refer to them as the professional series. So we collectors call them steel sports. But as you know, on the Rolex website and at the AD, they call them professional versus classic. Okay. So what that point is, what Matahari, what she's saying here is that Rolex did not create the policy of withholding the card. That has been invented by a chain of authorized dealers in the UK and then spread to other authorized dealers in the UK who didn't want to look like who didn't want to look like they were doing anything less to try and control the gray market, and that sort of spread throughout the UK. Hasn't hit the United States, and I don't think it will, because we've got some consumer protection laws relating to warranties that I think would prevent that maneuver. So I don't think they could get away with it here. But apparently, you people are getting double-fisted and shafted in the UK by the authorized dealers, not specifically by Rolex. Okay, point number 4. All waiting list clients are told by the authorized dealer about the withholding guarantee rule. If they don't like it, they don't get to buy the watch. So forewarned is forearmed. If you're going on the waiting list, they're going to let you know, according to my source. So you shouldn't be surprised by this. Number 5, this is in the UK. Number 5, something big, B-I-G, big is happening for BASEL 2020, and that comes with an exclamation point from my source, Spy 3.0, who we're calling Matahari. She further says, again, ambiguous point, but it's fairly safe to say that it's not yet going to be the ceramic Coke GMT. Highly likely a new sub and possibly a new Explorer 2. Well, as you know, they have put out the Pepsi GMT, so there are a lot of people waiting for the Coke GMT, and if that's not what's coming, well, there are some people who will be severely disappointed by that. However, I agree that it's likely to be some form of new sub because, as we know, they've developed a new movement, 70-hour power reserve, more efficient escapement, and that has not hit the sub line yet, so it seems reasonable to me that that would happen in 2020. Plus, I have a current production run Submariner myself, so if it becomes discontinued in favor of a new version, well, that's just probably good for the collectability of the one that I have and the one that you maybe have. Also, I do have already an Explorer 2, so if they change that, she doesn't say how they're going to change it. She's not even 100% sure that they're going to change the Explorer 2. But if they do, well, first, let me drop a picture right now of the current Explorer 2 right here. Now that you've had a look at that, I have the polar version. It also comes with a black dial, but all of them have that steel bezel. So what would they change? Probably ceramic bezel. That is, I suppose, what they would change if they change anything. Now you might say, gee, wouldn't you be sorry, Mark, that you have the steel bezel one? Well, not really, because look what happened to the steel bezel Daytona. They just went like, nuts. So ceramic will be nice, but if you have a steel one, guys, don't get rid of it. Keep it. Okay, so lots happening, lots of suspicion that some interesting things are going to happen BASEL 2020. Gonna be big, guys. Okay, point number 6. Matahari says Rolex authorized sales, Rolex AD sales consultants and store managers are not allowed to have a popular steel model at cost price. So if they work for the AD, they don't get cost basis. They must go on the waiting list just like everyone else and pay full retail. It is commonly suspected that regional managers and directors get special privileges. That's kind of consistent with what I heard from Spy 1.0, who knew of somebody high up. I'm not going to release any details because Rolex is probably watching. And I'm not going to release any details. I do protect my sources. I will go to YouTube jail to protect my sources. But Spy 1.0, his or her contact had received a watch at cost. But I think you have to be high up within the organization to get that privilege. If you just work at the authorized dealer, I think you got to pay, just like everybody else. That makes sense. Number 7, UK Rolex authorized dealer AD average discount parameters if buying outright are as follows. So steel and models under $5,000, excuse me. What he's talking about here is discount levels. What are you going to get from the AD in the way of a discount? What's common? Meaning if you're paying it outright. not using a credit card, you're just paying cash or writing a check. If it's a steel watch and it's under 5,000 pounds, he says you're getting a 0 discount. From 5 to 10,000 pounds up to a 5% discount. I don't know if I believe that. Steel sports, I don't think anybody's discounting steel sports in the United States. Maybe in the UK. Now 10 to 15,000 pounds, 7% discount, over 15,000 pounds, 10% discount. And I feel that that's probably true when you get up into the gold pieces. Maybe 5-10% off of gold pieces and platinum, but I don't think you're going to see that in this country off of steel sports. Any authorized dealer who abuses their discount policy will lose their dealership. Well, that I believe, and there have been numerous ADs in the United States, I'm told up to 50 in the last year or so, who have lost their distributorship of a Rolex. Point number 8, the mandatory de-stickering of steel models is an authorized dealer scheme. That is not Rolex required, nor Rolex authorized specifically. So just like the withholding of the cards in the UK, the de-stickering, that's an AD thing that's not required by Rolex. And by the way, that's why you find that some of the authorized dealers do it and some of them don't worry about it quite as much. Okay. Number 9, some ADs even keep the bezel protectors. So as they're removing the stickers, some of them are taking those plastic bezel protectors and some of them are letting the clients have it. That's on an AD by AD basis, and I think that's very true here also in the States. We collectors, we want everything. I'm going to drop a picture here of my 50th anniversary Sea Dweller right here. And I purchased that. I had a terrific buying experience at James & Sons in Orland Park, Illinois. They also have a unit in Chicago and one somewhere else in Illinois. Guys, I know it's pretty hard to find an AD to take you seriously. If you call them, I'm sure they'll be courteous. I can't promise what you'll get, but I know they'll be taking you seriously and they will be nice to you. Ask for Brian or Rocky. Anyway, my point was as follows. I wanted everything that came with that watch. I wanted the hang tag, I wanted the bezel protector, I wanted the plastic coffin, and they were more than happy to supply all of that too. So, good people. But that is on an AD by AD basis, according to Matahari Spy 3.0. Okay, number 10, Rolex have a dedicated team. This is juicy, guys. Rolex have a dedicated team that meticulously monitors the gray market selling of steel models. Not only do they hunt through eBay, Chrono24, Watchfinder, etc., but they will even go into the pre-owned stores posing as customers in order to obtain the serial numbers or even view the warranty cards. Because if they do that, they will know who is the AD that has sold on that watch into the gray market. This will allow them to see the purchase location and original buyer's name. So specifically, they're going to see whose name was written in on the warranty card, but I think more importantly, they're going to see who was the authorized dealer who is pumping watches into the gray market. They then inform the corresponding AD and heads will roll. The AD essentially gets a slap across the wrist from Rolex for selling to an unscrupulous client into the gray market, and the AD subsequently removes that client from their steel model waiting lists indefinitely. Okay, so how does this affect you? Well, if you are a big spender over at your Rolex AD and they love you, and so you are buying, and let's say they're selling you 2, 3, 4, 5 really super hot, super popular. I'm not talking about old stuff. I'm talking about you now got the Batgirl, you've got the Pepsi GMT, you got a ceramic Daytona, you got a blue steel Sky Dweller, and you have sold each and every one of those moments after you bought them for profit into the gray market. Your name is on those warranty cards. Your AD is getting in trouble and you're getting in trouble, my friend. That's, and I asked my Spy 3.0, I said to her, how do they catch that? And what she told me was they're looking for the big abusers. They're looking for the big gray marketeers. So they're probably not walking into, every shop and pawn shop, nothing of the sort. But what they're looking for is the major, largest abuse. And so I wouldn't worry about it if you sold 1 or 2. But if you are a big abusing AD, selling to a guy who is selling out his back door, turning those watches right around, well, you might think differently about selling to that client. That actually, really, I believe this, because recently I read in a Facebook Rolex group, which I will not identify, but this guy was going crazy because he had bought all those models that I just named, sold them into the gray market, profited like thousands and thousands of dollars on all of those watches, didn't keep any of them, and had just been called by the AD that his Daytona, his ceramic Daytona was in, the Panda, that's like the white whale. It's like the biggest, payday of all. But before they were going to authorize him to come in and pick up his watch, they wanted to see pictures of his whole collection, or he was meant to bring all of them back to the AD to show them that he still had them. And he couldn't. Why? Because he sold them into the gray market. So that really dovetails with what Mata Hari has said here in her point. So the last part is not Rolex authorized, meaning that you're removed from the list forever, but they're not, naturally, Rolex isn't going to object to that. That would be an AD-driven point, because the AD will feel that that customer is threatening their distribution with the manufacturer, which is Rolex. So are there authorized dealers who abuse their contracts and sell out the back door right into the gray market? Sure. So Rolex would find those people, because those if the AD is doing a lot of that, those warranty cards are going to be blank. But of course, they're filled in terms of where the serial number and the watch went to. So if you were an AD selling off tons of Rolex watches to not legitimate customers, you might think twice. You could get caught, sir. And if you are a client like that Facebook guy who's sold 5, 6, 7, your chances are decent that you are eventually going to be smacked also. So I think what you should do is either buy watches that you personally want to keep, own, and enjoy, or let somebody else buy them who wants that. But yeah, don't be feeding the gray market, people. Okay, a couple additional points here. Regarding the gray market Rolex team, that hit squad, that goes out looking to identify who's abusing the system. They are primarily only interested in the super fresh gray market listings. So for example, a steel Batgirl, a Daytona, a Pepsi that is dated within like the last 3 months. They know immediately that it has been purchased at retail specifically to make a profit pre-owned, and that it's not simply a guy who's fallen on hard times and is liquidating material assets. So, don't worry if you got to sell something off to put a new roof on your house. That's not what they're looking for. They are looking for the true abusers of the system. The team doesn't care about any listings where the watch is over a year old. Juicy. So it's the brand shit spanking new stuff that they are out there looking for. New inventory, freshly hitting the gray market. Rolex apparently is watching. Rolex is watching. Who knew? Guys, I have been waffling on for quite a while here, but I have to tell you, if you watch the videos that I will put in the description of this, you will see that Spy 3.0 is by far my most credible source. Mata Hari, I would like to thank you. You're a beautiful woman. I actually have seen a picture of Mata Hari, and let me just say, she looks the part. She looks the part. She could be in a Bond movie. This is one attractive spy. You know who you are. Thank you so much. Guys, if you've got inside information, marcgoldberg8@gmail.com. Remember, please like and subscribe. It helps me so much when you do that. Do you believe all this stuff? What do you think? Is Rolex really sending, hit squads looking for, fresh steel sports, juicy stuff that is just like flooding into the gray market? Number one. Number two, are they doing a very good job of it? Because I keep seeing all those pictures out of China with, 30, 40, 50, of the hot watches right there in China, Hong Kong, Singapore. What about all of that? Okay, so what's that juicy last bit? Apparently, as of Baselworld 2020, the lugs are going to be slimmed down on the Submariner. It's going to get a new movement, and all the professional, which is to say the sports watches, are going to, that maxi case is going to be slimmed down somewhat. It's not going back to pre-maxi case dimensions, but it's not going to be as fat and wide as it is right now. That's going to really please a lot of the collectors of the old classic pre-ceramic watches who hate the super case. They've already done it on the Batgirl. If you hold a Batgirl and a Batman together, you would actually see that the lugs are somewhat slimmer on the Batgirl than on the Batman. They've just given her a little bit of a waistline, and that's what's coming to all of the maxi case steel sports watches in the GMT and in the Submariner line. So stay tuned, guys. That super case is going to lose a little bit of weight, and a couple of millimeters are going to be shaved off. She's going to be a little bit more like her old self. Not quite, but certainly not as chubby and wide as she is right now. What do you think? Do you believe it? What's going to happen next? Remember, like, subscribe, tell me what you think in the comments. We're going to do this again together soon. This is Marc Goldberg. Peace out.